for data science, we are going to learn Python. Why we are going to learn Python is because you will see mostly people, the data science industry, they have moved from they have moved from R to Python in the past 5 years. So R used to be the preferred language 5 years back because it has a lot of statistical packages. So you can perform your the statistics operations, hypothesis testing, designing, experimentation, visualization, and all using Python. Sorry, R. But now people have moved to Python. Now, why people are moving to Python? Because Python provides you a very easy. Python is considered as one of the most easiest programming language. And if you are someone from non-IT background, okay, if you are from non-IT background, you can learn Python very easily. Whereas if you go to learn C, C++, Java, it will take a lot of time. Why? We'll discuss that when we go forward. Right. So let's understand the history, little bit of history of Python. So the creator of Python is Guido van Rossum. Okay. And it was created in 1991. So it is not that old. Python is not that old, right? Now, this Guido van Rossum, this guy is currently working with Microsoft. Okay. So how it got it named Python? So it has nothing to do with snakes. Okay. Python has nothing to do with snakes. The creator of Python was a fan of this big comedy show, Monty Python's Flying Circus. And from there, he took the name. So he just took the name from this particular show, Monty Python's Flying Circus. So he decided to pick the name Python for his newly created programming languages from there. So it has nothing to do with the snakes or anything. Right. So let's talk about Python now. So why Python is one of the most widely used user-friendly programming languages. Okay. So there was a survey on a platform which hosts data science competitions. So data scientists, machine learning engineers, and those who are interested in the field, they participate in this competition. Okay. So this platform is Kaggle. You can check this out. So there was a survey. So I don't have this survey details over here, but I want to share that. There was a survey and they were asked which programming language they use in their day-to-day job. Okay. So almost 80% of them, okay, almost 80% of them voted for Python. That it is a Python that they use in their day job. And the second one was the SQL, which 60% of them use in their day-to-day job. So this Python and SQL, if you learn these two things only, you will have a great opportunities in the field, in the IT field, actually. Okay. So I just wanted to say this. Now coming back to this session, what is Python? Python is user friendly. Okay. So in C, C++, they have compilers. Python have interpreter. So now is the time to discuss what is compiler, what is interpreter, and how why Python uses interpreter. So if you have a compiler, let's say C++ uses compiler. So in compiler, what it does it, you'll have to write your code all at once. Okay, let's say you have written 100 line of code. Now, once you have written your 100 line of code, then it will get converted into, so C++, it uses compiler. So this compiler is going to read all this line of code at once. It will read all this line of code at once, and then it is going to convert that into binary form. if everything is right. So it will check all the keywords, all the grammar of that particular language should be correct. If it is correct, then the compiler will convert that into binary form. Okay. Now, once it has been converted to binary form, then this binary form is stored. Okay. So it gets stored in the system, this binary converted code. After it gets stored, then you execute this file. So here, all your code, all your syntaxes must be correct, and compiler will read all at once and it will perform the operation. So the example of that is C or C++ uses compiler. Right. Now, problem with this is if you are having some error in your second line, it will give you, it is not going to do this conversion. It will give you a lot of errors and you'll have to complete all your code. You cannot see partial executions. You cannot do the partial execution of your code. What is partial execution? That means write one line of code, execute it, and see whether it is right or wrong. You cannot do that in C++. Whereas in Python, what we can do is it has interpreter. Python has interpreter. Okay. Now this interpreter, it does not read all file at once. What it does, it reads one line at a time. Interpreter will read only one line at a time. Then it will get converted to binary form. Okay. Then it gets converted to binary form. And there is no intermediate process of storing this binary form. Once it is converted into binary, that binary form will get executed and you can see the output. You don't need to store it. Okay. So in a way, Python is a bit slow because you are not storing it binary form. So every time you come back, it will follow this repetition. So it will read one line of code, then it will get converted to binary, then executed. Then again, if you want to read something, then again, it will read the next line. It will convert that to binary and get executed. Whereas the compiler will read all at once, convert that into binary and store it, and then do execute this file. So if you're running it for the second time, all this step is skipped because you have already stored the binary form. You don't need to do the conversion. So C, C++, these programming languages are little fast compared to Python. But still, Python is preferred. Why Python is preferred? Because overall it supports the development is really fast because I can execute, I can do the partial execution. I can see whether there is any error in my first line of code or not. I can go to the second line, I can write the code and I can see whether any error is there or not. So overall, it increases my efficiency as well. I can do partial executions of my code. I don't have to write all at once and then go back and debug my code. No. Okay. So that's why people started using Python. Okay. Because it is user friendly. I can just write one line of code, execute it and see. Python is open sourced and it is easy to learn. So it is very much closer to your English language. If you know English, it will be very easy to understand Python as well. It is not that hard, Python. It is mostly used in machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, GUI. It is nothing but graphical user interface, the desktop application that you see. Those are nothing but GUI, graphical user interface based. It is also used in robotics, web development, game development, and there are a lot of applications. Okay. Also, you will see some famous application like Python, like YouTube, Instagram. Okay, YouTube, Instagram, your Quora, Reddit, All these applications, they are developed using Python. Okay. So YouTube, Instagram, Quora, your Reddit, and there are a lot of applications that have been developed using Python. So Python is a general purpose, dynamic, high level, interpreted programming language. Okay. So general purpose, that means mostly it can be used for any kind of development. Dynamic, high level. Okay. So we discussed about what is high level. We'll talk about what is dynamic. Okay. Interpreted, that means it uses interpreter. It also supports object-oriented programming approach. It is simple and easy to learn and provides a lot of high-level data structures. So you will be working with this data structure in this course. So we'll learn about what are data structures as well. Okay. So why you should learn Python? Because it provides useful features for you as a programmer, and the feature make it most popular and widely used language. So let's see some of the features of the Python which makes it most popular. Okay. So easy to learn. If you are from non-IT, you can easily learn this Python. Interpreted. Okay. So you can see your partial execution of the code. You can write one line of code, see the output. Object-oriented design. Okay. So it is object-oriented language. It is open sourced. Open sourced is nothing but it is freely available. Okay. So it is freely available. Anyone can download and work on Python. Integrated, so it has dynamic memory allocation, and there are wide range of libraries and frameworks. So as a data scientist, we are mostly interested in this libraries and the frameworks. So there are a lot of libraries that are there that you'll be using as a data scientist or in machine learning projects. Okay. So you'll have some libraries like NumPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, SciPy. Okay. And there are a lot of them that you'll be using. So what are these libraries? These libraries makes our life easier. We don't have to write everything from scratch. Okay. Most of the implementation is already there. We just need to write, import this libraries, use these libraries, and just write few line of code, and we are done with our job. So that's why these libraries are the thing that we are mostly interested in. Okay, we'll see some of these libraries. Okay, so as I told you, it is easy to learn. Yes, Python is very easy as it is productive and dynamic. Let me show you how easy it is. Okay, so I'll just say hello world in C. All right, so this is the program that you will have to write. Okay, if you are writing just print hello world in C. So here you have this has include, right? You have int main, you have hello world, you have return 0, and so on. So as a non-IT people, it gets really confusing. Okay, when I started learning programming, it was really confusing to understand what is this has include, what is this studio.h, right? Int main, then this bracket. Even if you miss one thing, it will give you error. It is not going to execute. Why we are putting this semicolon? What is this return? Okay, and all this stuff. Whereas if you look at Python, okay, hello world in Python, Okay, so this is just hello world in Python. So here you will see just one line of code. We're just saying print hello comma world. So it is very easily understandable, right? Even if you don't know any programming, you can easily tell what this line of code is going to do. So it is just going to display something which is hello world. That's why Python is considered as one of the easiest language to learn as a non-programmer or someone from non-IT background, right? So one of the key ideas about Python is that it facilitates an easily readable code. It is an interpreted language. So we already talked about what is interpreter, right? So here the source code of a Python program is converted into bytecode that is then executed by the Python virtual machine. So it is nothing but interpreter takes your code one line at a time, convert it into binary and execute it. So it is object oriented. So we had already discussed this. Like other general purpose programming languages, Python is also an object oriented language. It allows us to develop application using object oriented approach. It is open source. That means anyone can download it and use this software. Okay. So Python is developed under an OSI approved open source license. You can also contribute to Python libraries, frameworks as well. So you can, if you want to develop your own library for some Python framework, you can do that as well. You can contribute to the Python growth. So it is integrated. Python is an integrated language by nature. This means that the Python interpreter executes code one line at a time, unlike other object-oriented programming. So it has dynamic memory allocation. Okay, let's see what is this dynamic memory allocation. So Python uses dynamic memory allocation, which is managed by heap data structure. So heap data structure, you don't have to worry about what is this heap. Memory heap holds the objects and other data structures that will be used in the program. So what do we mean by this dynamic memory allocation is, in other programming languages, when you want to create a variable, so this we call it as variable, which is going to store a number, some number. First of all, what you have to do is you have to tell it that in A, I'm going to store an integer value, or I'm going to store a float value. So you'll have to tell the program first what kind of value you want to store in this A. Whereas in Python, it just uses dynamic memory allocation. So it identifies the data type itself. For example, if I'm writing A equals to 10, I don't have to tell in Python that in A, I'll be storing an integer. Here, I can just write A equals to 10. And this value will be considered as an integer. So it identifies the data type itself. If I write A equals to 10.2, in that case, it will identify this value as a float number. Okay, I don't have to tell the program first that in A, I'm going to store a float number. So float A, I don't have to do that in Python. I can just assign the value and Python will identify the data types. Okay, so Python has wide range of libraries and frameworks. Python offers ready-made libraries. For example, we'll be using pandas to do data analysis. You'll be using NumPy to handle array operations. You'll be using matplotlib, cbond to visualize and build your graphs. Okay, so all of this are nothing but the libraries. And these libraries help us to make our life easier. For machine learning projects, you can use scikit-learn. Okay. So all these libraries are already there. Otherwise, you'll have to write everything from scratch, and that will be very difficult. Okay. So as a developer, we can use these libraries and frameworks to build powerful software quickly with a cost-effective approach. Okay. So where is Python used? So Python, if I have to say, in today's world, it is used everywhere. Okay. Python is used in almost in IT field, in almost all field, all the aspects of it. It covers all the aspect of your IT field, be it automation, be it web development, okay, be it your machine learning, be it your data science, be it your research. So everywhere you'll see the use of Python. Okay, that's why it is getting more popular, and companies have adopted Python as their best programming tool, the main programming language. Okay, so Python is general purpose programming language, and it is used in almost every technical field. So here are some of the field where Python is used. It is not just limited to what you see on your screen. Python is used for many other tasks as well. So data science, data mining, desktop application, console based application, mobile application, software development, AI, web application, enterprise, CAD, machine learning, computer vision, speech recognition, chatbot development, okay, and GUI programming, robotics, your uh, game development. All of this can be done using Python. So again, the advantages: easy to read, to understand, and to write the code in Python. And it also integrates with other programming languages as well, like C, C++, Java. Okay. So Python executes code line by line. So it is easy for the programmers to find the error that occurred in your code, that and you can easily fix them as well. Python is a platform independent. So Python is platform independent. You can write your code once and you can run it anywhere in any platform. Now, it is not so that it does not have disadvantages. Yes, it has some disadvantages as well. Okay, so Python is not suitable for developing mobile applications and games. You can develop mobile application and games, but the problem is Python is a bit slow. It is not as fast as compared to your C, C++. Why? Because it uses interpreter. Okay, there is something called as GIL lock in Python, which slows it down. So Python works with the interpreter. That's why it is slower than other programming language like C, C++. So in C, C++, what happens? If your code is correct, it will get, your compiler will convert that into binary code, and that binary code gets stored. Okay. So that binary code, once it is stored, then that binary code, you have to take it and execute it. You don't have to do the conversion again and again. Whereas in Python, it does not get, your binary code does not get stored in the, right? So the bytecode does not get stored. So every time this conversion has to happen, it will read first line, do the conversion, execute it. Then the second line, read it and do the conversion and execute it. It is not getting stored. So it is a bit slow. So thank you, folks. That's all for today. We'll meet again in next session. All right. So thank you and have a good day.